got this tank top. I got you from Universe. The only thing I would change is I would change I got you to I am you. But this is good enough. And I was thinking about the phrase, is this a friendly universe, that Einstein said? And I was wondering if I would change that to, am I a friendly universe? And when we meet someone, we're meeting a whole universe. We're time traveling into somebody's universe, which is their whole history up until that point, to manifest as themselves. And I think there's a really big difference between what the universe would have each one of us be and what each of our families would have us be. And I'm choosing the universe, man. I'd rather be a universe than a daughter. This morning I woke up kind of grumpy and PMSy, and I didn't have a very good sleep, only 64% according to Sleep Cycle. And I think it's partly because I got a bit of a sunburn on my legs. The sun was really intense yesterday, so it was hard to sleep, plus PMS, it makes it hard to sleep. And I felt tired, and they're stomping above my head, and I was just kind of like, ugh. And then feeling a little bit like, how could I feel this way after yesterday? I felt really good, and last night I had some insights, but I wasn't feeling like too energized. And when I was trying to sleep, I felt that death thing trying to happen, but it wouldn't really happen. And then I realized it's not bad. I took a methylfolate and a tyrosine this morning, so I feel like energized. I was driving and I felt happy and singing along to my favorite songs. So it was really different once I got out of there. And I think that lower state is just a sign, like, remember, don't forget to get out of here. Don't let up and think, oh yeah, I'm fine. Remember, you're not fine being here. Get out. And then the microcosm of that is getting out for the day, and the macrocosm is getting out and going on a journey. So yeah, I'm feeling good. So that thing with dogs is happening again. I came into the park and there's like a bag of dog shit on the side like usual. And then, not only that, I just stepped in a small little pile of dog shit in my new runners. I really just don't like dogs. Maybe I just don't like dog owners. So that is really disgusting. It's like, how do you even get that off of there? So they either pick it up and leave it in a bag on the side of the trail, or they don't pick it up and someone walks through it. Usually I look pretty closely at the ground, but I wasn't looking at the ground. I shouldn't have to look at the ground. I'll have to find somewhere to clean that off properly. Oh, God. Other than that, I'm feeling good. I'm in my favorite park, even more favorite than my other favorite park. It's so nice in here. It's a weekday and other people aren't here. So I feel that one of the reasons why when a person goes into so-called mania, they often get to a point where they feel like they're famous, or they feel like they're a star, or they're going to be a star, or they're friends with celebrities, or they're going to be friends with celebrities. Because what happens is, when one gets in touch with that energy that would allow one to move freely without reference to the way one was conditioned to be, one is more original. One is one's original self. and one gets in touch with one's star quality, and one sees that one could have been a star had one moved along one's original trajectory. Because if we move freely along our uncontorted trajectory, we don't waste any energy. We don't waste any energy trying to be something other than we are. And if we're totally that which we are, we have total energy. And had we been that all along, we would have created something completely different. So when we're all of a sudden free, that dissonance in our whole life, it's not cognitive dissonance, it's physical time warping dissonance of realizing that one has just traveled through time and become in touch with that which they might have been, and they're temporarily that. But since one didn't move along that trajectory the whole life, one's there, one feels like one will always be there, but there's this elastic band force of all the adjustments one made according to family conditioning, society conditioning, education. And that force is at the same time pulling one back to be in alignment with that continuity of being contorted and distorted and used by others. The what should be, what has to be, what I need to do to please others. That energy snaps us back with equal and opposite force. And we pay for the experience of freedom. We pay for whatever we're able to create in that freedom for that limited period of time. We pay for that creation. All that went into creating who we have become comes back and says, these are all the reasons why you can't be that. Remember all these things that happened because you were busy being somebody other than that you were? Now we want you to come back and be that which we think you are, for our comfort, for the comfort of others who help to create this distortion of yourself. And so when we get snapped back, we're told all kinds of things to believe about ourselves. And we're told and punished with new beliefs and frameworks about ourselves because we had a taste of freedom. And others don't want us to be free. They would lose us. They would lose being able to use us to reaffirm their egoic patterns and the structures that they've been conditioned with. You're part of the whole conditioning conglomerate of all of society. And the price to pay for that taste of freedom is to be put in a place in society of punishment. You can't be free, and we're going to make it so you can never be free. We're going to tell you that you're ill. We're going to tell you that you're delusional. We're going to tell you all sorts of things to believe about yourself, and none of them are true. The problem is that we believed all these things about ourselves all our lives. So we need to undo those things we believed about ourselves all our lives. The taste of freedom temporarily undoes it, but we need to see things clearly. If we go into that energy again and we haven't fully undone the past will come back to get us. It will grab us and it will throw us back at equal and opposite speed. But we have to see clearly what is holding us back. And what is holding us back is that which we feel was holding us and protecting us our whole life. We traded security, the puppetry of security, for absolute freedom. And we can be free. We can be free of all that. But we have to see clearly that that which we thought was security is our prison. Now, the fastest way to get out of prison, any prison, is to obey the prison rules. If we kick and scream against the rules of the prison that we're in, we only stay longer in the prison. So realize when we snap back into the cage, smile and nod, be kind, be gentle, and we will again have a chance to step our way out of it slowly but surely. Seeing the traps, we can avoid the traps, and we only trap ourselves. We trap ourselves by asking something of a structure that can't be done. It can only be undone, and we can undo it by moving through it and stepping out of it and saying thank you, but no thank you from this point on. One of the mistakes that we make in mania is that we show our happiness, we show our joy, we show that we're free, we show that we found our light, and we dance with delight. And the thing is that we're oblivious to the fact that in conditioned society, we're conditioned to be jealous when other people have good things going on and are happy. We're conditioned to feel like something's missing in us, and we're not genuinely happy for other people's happiness in general. So when we are showing that extreme happiness, people are looking at us like, what's wrong with them? Or they could even be thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be that happy? And when they're unable to share in it and enjoy it, and they only judge it, that eventually recaptures that joy in that supposed individual and gobbles it up. Happiness is usually translated into jealousy in others. So, and other things too. So it's best when that energy comes in to keep it to ourselves and not let anyone know how extremely joyful and happy we are. And I guess that goes with when we're not feeling it's good too. Don't show people. Don't tell people. So don't go looking for joy as you are joy itself. Bathe in the vibe of that joy, and people will come up and talk to you. They'll pick up on that joy, and those are the people that we are meant to talk to. And we share a bit of that joy, and then keep moving, and eventually we've vibed with a joyful tribe. It'll happen at some point. Oftentimes, when a person experiences so-called mania, one might do something like take off spontaneously on a trip all of a sudden. Just take a trip to the other side of the world overnight or at that very moment. And I'm seeing that as a gesture of freedom. So it's a gesture saying I'm free, and that manifests as one taking a very spontaneous, extravagant trip that seems out of character. But also when one is extremely free of all past structures, the character that was is no longer there. And it's replaced by the energy of the universe and infinite possibilities and infinite fluidity of action and gesture. So it's a gesture that one is feeling free, that one is free temporarily. Others around will see that as something out of character, out of the pattern of conditioning that one is used to as that other being. And so what I'm seeing is the gestures, the actions, the behaviors are manifestation of how we're feeling on the inside. If we're feeling infinitely free, we might take a trip. When we feel infinitely free, we feel infinitely rich. So we don't feel like money is a problem. We feel like if we spend all our money, we'll get more, because that state is a state of inner richness. And then that translates into feeling like we will have outer richness, which isn't necessarily true. It could be possibly true. in the future. But with that freedom and that unlimited energy, one sees that struggling and working for money is not the most fundamental thing. The most fundamental thing is being oneself and living and having fun with that energy. So here I am planning a gesture, a trip to go away from my conditioned upbringing. It's a gesture saying, I can be free of it and spending time away from it. But I also do feel that's not the ultimate answer. The ultimate freedom is being free of the conditioning, even if surrounded by all one's conditioned past. So there's no conditions to being free. But I do feel that this gesture is a movement in the right direction. I watched the movie The Danish Girl, and there was a scene where the man that is becoming a woman goes to like a peep show in order to watch the woman and her gestures of being feminine. And even though this being felt all their life that they were a woman, they'd been so conditioned to behave like a man that they still needed to go and watch these gestures of femininity in order to reprogram the musculature to be able to move in that way. And in the same way, I feel like when we become free, we need to reprogram our musculature in the movements of freedom, whatever that looks like for us. But at some point, we don't have to think in terms of reprogramming. We move as the universe, with the universe, and we dance as the universe. I realized something interesting lately, and I don't know if I've talked about this with myself yet. But it seems that one doesn't even need to do anything to be free, except stop wasting energy on those structures that would enslave and imprison. Stop feeding those structures of should and pleasing others. We think we owe something to those who have raised us, and they've cultured us to be a certain way, and that isn't necessarily our way. And nothing is worth not being completely oneself. So I haven't really read any insights in a long time, but I've been writing a few things down by hand because when I was first struggling, the first 2 months that I was struggling with this energy, there was a man who told me, it was a colon hydrotherapist actually, he said, I know what you're going through. What you need to do is write stuff down and look. So he actually did a gesture of like pretending to write on a paper and then like holding the book like this and going. And I think he was giving a clue to something, how one, it's important to write what is channeled by the universe through the universal vessel of you by your own hand, because that is more powerful than putting it in typing. And there's been studies about that for sure. Something about the writing, and also putting it on something manifest like a piece of paper is more powerful than putting it on like invisible paper in the computer. It's not even really real. It's not even really there. Something that's manifest in a form is more powerful than something that is in technology. It's just how it is. And one might say it's not as powerful because if I write this with a click of a button, I could share it on the internet, whereas this is only on this book right now. So one might think that's less powerful, but the interesting thing is that when one puts it into the computer, one is feeding the conditioning. One is putting it out and people will look and they'll just translate it according to their own conditioning, and it just feeds the monster. Whereas this, when one writes something that the universe says through one's nervous system onto paper and looks at it, the universe is looking at what it said to itself, for itself, by itself. And that actually resonates to all brains without putting it through this like, oh, it's got to go into a computer thing. The brain is a way more powerful computer. We all have the same human brain. We don't have individual brains. We all have the same brain that evolved over the same amount of time. They didn't all come individually and we individually came onto this planet. We all have the same brain, different bodies, different experiences, but the brain computer and connecting through nature is more powerful. That's how we've done it all along, and look where we've gotten to. So this is more powerful. So that being said, I don't even know if I have to read it, so I'm not sure if I'll go into reading things that I wrote. I did print off a bunch that I typed, but I might go back to the original process of writing it down, maybe talking about it, maybe not. I've written in notebooks for many years, and I think a lot of it is mixed in with conditioned personality stuff, and hopefully that is mostly on its way out. Even if it's not, if that comes back, it was still there slightly this morning, which I was talking about as a compass to remind myself to keep getting out of the conditioning, then just not feeding it as much. And part of that is not talking about it to other people, because that feeds the conditioned structures. So I wrote, free will is only when you are free, not conditioned, but creative. If you are not free, you have no free will, but a false will of reaction from the conditioning. Hence we then think, why did I do that after we do something? Because we are controlled by conditioning and thinking after the fact that we could have done something differently than be puppeted by our pre-programmed reactions that stem from the beginning of psychological time. All of this is an illusion. So anytime we think, why did I do that? I didn't want to do that. That is a sign that we're not free. Seeing we aren't free is the beginning of freedom. All recovery is recovering from not being ourselves in the first place. Who were you in the first place? Who you were in the first place. Be the first place version of yourself, for yourself, not in comparison to others. Don't recover the perversion of your essence that others call yourself, your conditioned self. Oftentimes, people might think that they know everything they need to know, and that's a big deal. I know what I need to know. What if we could change that to love everything I need to love? And our brain is so occupied with ourself. What if it could be occupied by the universe, life, eternity, and love? We need to learn to be enveloped by conditioning, but not of it. You don't have to react to it. If you do, you are it. You are the conditioning. All reaction is fear, not love, as it is based on you versus me. You either resist me or succumb to being used as a means to feed my desire and pleasure. That is not love. Fear is the conditioning. Anger is the conditioning, as it implies cause and effect and a motive for a certain result. When love is, conditioning is not. Love cannot be conditioned. Example, fit into human constructs. The network of language, which is measure, cannot know the unknowable. You cannot know love. You can live it. One can be in dialogue with life and love, and the you arises as an epiphenomenon of conflict with life, as a separate you. As a separate you, of course, life appears as conflict, as one lives life as an illusion. The quantum mistake. When the brain mutates to quantum and sees all possibilities, the irony is that as things are now, there is a high probability of the possibility of living out life as a mental patient. Also high probability of death or leaving the material body behind. That state of quantum is love, and love makes all things possible. Trouble is, since most of the morphogenetic field is Newtonian and based on control and conflict, which is not love, it makes love impossible. Tell me your dream, not your story. Your story is the nightmare caused by your conditioning. Keep it undetectable to the conditioning. Invisible, indivisible, quantum. They can only detect quantum at the micro level with their powerful instruments. They can't yet see it with their own 3 eyes. You only have true free will when you have love, for then you have freedom to experiment and be creative. Love is the only creative factor. Conditioning is destructive. It's a pattern. It can approximate love, but it's not love, and it is limited. When that energy comes, give it back to the earth, Gaia, and the cosmos, and not to the human thought constructs. You can be free. You can be free. You can be free from society. You can be free. You can be free. You can be free from you and me. We live in eternity. We are one if you could only see. I can see the quantum functioning in every field I see. It creates the future, infinite realities. Forget the past, it cannot last. Forget the past, it will not last. So that inner stardom, that inner freedom, is your inner kingdom, and it's only for you. It's the original pulsation of your very being.